Can't decide and torn between a romantic, comedy, action, or an indie film to watch for the weekend? Well. Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast is your ultimate guide to the latest movies. Join us as we dissect the latest on the blockbusters. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast.
Going on, everybody? Welcome to the GSMC Movie Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Arianne, and I have three other beautiful ladies here with me. Say hello.
Hello.
That's Heidi.
That's me.
I'm Sarah.
I did what I was told.
You did follow instructions very well.
And hello, I'm Staci.
And Sarah's over there too.
I said hi and I introduced myself.
She did, but we were laughing. So
I'm sorry.
It was right after mine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
we were too busy giggling.
I'm Sarah. I'm in the corner.
Oh, they can't see.
We love her. She's here.
We are going to talk about two movies today: The House with the Clock in Its Walls and Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We're going to start off with The House with the Clock in Its Walls.
Both have wordy titles.
I was just going to say kind of tongue twister titles.
When I went up to the box office, I was like, "Can I get one for the clock with the just that one?" And the person knew exactly what I was talking about.
I was going to say you probably weren't the first one.
Well, how many films have clock in them?
Yeah.
So, this movie was directed by Eli Roth. Screenplay was written by Eric Kripke. Kripke?
I just want to say Kripke, but that also it was magic and bones.
Kripke.
Yes,
Kripke.
There was Cate Blanchett in it, Jack Black, Owen Vaccaro. He played Little Louis, the boy, and it was just recently released. Anyway, quick summary: Louis goes to live with his uncle, who's Jack Black, and in a magical house with obviously a clock in its walls. That's the name.
I would hope so.
Basically, the clock is a countdown timer, and they don't know what's going to happen at the end. So they're like trying to figure it out as they fight, demons and other witches and bring back the dead and weird stuff like that. So
yeah,
When I saw it, I'm not a huge Jack Black fan.
Me
I
either.
liked him in a few things, and then I saw a review that a friend of mine does, who does reviews for Facebook, and he loves Jack Black. He loved pretty much everything he's been in, and he hated him in this movie. So I was like, well, okay, that pretty much decides it for me.
Right.
See, I didn't hate him in this film, but if it had been like Jack Black and not Cate Blanchett as the other, I was like, no. But Cate Blanchett's one of those actresses that I'm like, I'll see you in anything.
Right.
So I was like, you kind of not balance out Jack Black, but give him a plus where he would necessarily have a negative.
Well, that's what he said, was that Cate Blanchett and Kyle MacLachlan, I think. It's Sarah McLachlan, the musician. That they didn't come in until like halfway through, but that they really helped to kind of bring up the level of the movie.
Yeah. I really do like Jack Black, so I was happy to see this movie. That I was more excited to see the film when I found out that he was in it. And I like Cate Blanchett. Obviously, she plays like his friend in the movie, like neighbor. Mm-hmm. And I thought they were both good, but it was definitely not the best performance for either of them.
Yeah,
right.
I don't know if that was just like what they were given, because I feel like Jack Black has like the kid movie type of thing down. Like he can make weird expressions and weird sounds and everything. So, I mean, that worked for him. And I think he's a really good actor. I just wouldn't say this used either of their talents to the fullest extent.
Well, and isn't Eli Roth a bit of an odd choice for director? Doesn't he do more, I don't know, horror or like thriller or something along those lines?
Okay, see, I feel then he's possibly a fitting choice, because when I saw the trailers for this, I really didn't want to see it, because you have that scene with Jack Black and them fighting pumpkins, and Cate Blanchett's says in that really awkward way because it's just cut weird. God, I hate pumpkins, and it just feels strange.
Not even a funny, like, oh, it's supposed to be a
just
joke.
Weird. And it felt from the trailers that this was going to be just sort of a goofy kids movie. And then you get into it, and it's actually kind of creepy at times. Right. And I was like,
so then that would make sense.
I was like, I know there was a trailer at the beginning of this for Goosebumps, but when did I actually enter Goosebumps in this film? Because you're creeping me out, man. I was not expecting that.
That was kind of how I broke down the film. I said if Matilda was a boy, and so if Matilda and Hocus Pocus, that kind of movie, like, had a baby, and then it was raised by a series of unfortunate events, and Harry Potter
and the Addams
as
family,
the parents, and then I had Goosebumps as the annoying sister.
Wow,
that's this movie.
Yeah. It was like, basically, I'm a wimp when it comes to scary things. So the fact that I could watch it means that a child can watch it.
Right.
So I think it was good for children. But it's definitely in the season of Hollywood. Or not Hollywood. I mean,
Halloween.
Hollywood. But it's good for Halloween, like with pumpkins and witches and stuff.
I think having Jack Black was their, like, target audience, because he does those, his toilet jokes and, definitely the age group they were targeting. So I think that's why that they chose him for that role, even though it was like, oh, we want to bring... And I also felt like they wanted to have it be one of those, like, classic films like Hocus Pocus. So, like, you watch it every Halloween season. You know what I mean? But I don't feel like I would ever do that.
It will not be
and Hocus Pocus wasn't even that great a success when it first came out, and it just became this cult thing because people could watch it on video, and they showed it on TV every year, and I love Hocus Pocus, and I'm upset because they're possibly going to remake it. Don't do that. For this, like, I went in thinking, oh, okay, it's a kid's film, and then when you get to the starting to have creepy things and strange toys talking by themselves and necromancy, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what kids are you aiming this at?
It gets dark.
Because I feel like the kids, actually, the age of the kids in this film, I was like, I think the kids in this film might be too young for this film. It's like, I want to put this to, like, maybe, like, 10 to 12-year-olds, but it looks like you're aiming, especially with Jack Black and his humor, at, like, 8-year-olds, and I'm like...
lower.
I don't know. When you get to the creepy parts, no.
Some kids really like creepy. My nieces have watched creepy, gross stuff since they were tiny, and they love it, and it gives me nightmares as an adult. I don't know how they...
I think some kids would like this, though. Like, kids who are into, like, Halloween creepy films would like it.
Well, I think now kids watch so much on the internet, and that's all they, I feel like the ones that I see are exposed to just, like, the dark kind of things, especially with, like, bands. If not even just watching movies, just anything on the internet in general. It's like, oh, this person has an X for his eyes. There's just, like, kind of just a weird, like, eerie
sadly
feeling.
They might be able to stomach it.
Exactly. But in my time, it's like, we were playing outside. We don't have time for
Did you just
horror.
say in my time?
Yes.
Back in my day.
75.
You can't get off my lawn!
Yeah, we played outside. We didn't have time to watch these creepy movies or even just make stuff up like, oh, I'm going to be the demon and you're going to be whatever.
And you're going to come back from the dead.
Yeah, it's like, no. I think the only game we played was like Ghost in the Graveyard. And that was like the scariest thing we played. But, I mean, it is definitely a family movie, a kid movie. I kind of guess, like, I felt like it was a 6 to 10, maybe pushing 11-year-old age range.
Yeah, I agree.
Would your kids like it? Arianne, do you think?
No, my daughter, my son definitely not. He's not even into that stuff. He likes scary movies, but he likes like the realistic ones. Like The Nun, he would probably go watch that.
The realistic ones?
Yeah.
The Nun?
Yeah.
The evil nun.
Not magic, more evil.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I also feel that this film might be difficult for kids to follow because I had a hard time following it at times because they're sort of, okay, we start with the story, but then we keep talking about things that happened in the past, even though it's only a year ago we find out, but we keep sort of having flashbacks. And then there's this whole mystery of the clock that even Jack Black and Cate Blanchett's characters don't know. So when we're trying to figure out what it is, it's like they don't know, so they can't fully explain it to us. So I'm not sure how well kids watching this would understand exactly what's going on here.
Right. So we're fighting why, or we're searching for... Exactly.
What?
Exactly.
Go back to the fighting pumpkins.
I don't know. I wasn't a really big fan of this. I don't think it's going to be one of those Halloween movies where you just say, oh, we're watching this every year.
I'd rather watch The Great Pumpkin.
I mean, I can see it being played on TV every year because it's so Halloween-y. Like,
Yeah.
and even from the trailers, I didn't think it was Halloween. I just thought it was like magic, and I was like, okay, well,
Right.
Harry Potter's over
Right,
now,
I
so we've
agree.
got to have something to
Gotta
fill
have
that.
something with magic.
But no, this feels so Halloween-y that I could see, networks playing it every year. I'm just not sure I'd want to watch it every year.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it's also very interesting because it's set in, I think, 1955.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on the last episode about, sort of having people of different races without having to have a reason for them to be of different races.
Right.
And you have that, even though we're in some strange named
yeah.
town in Michigan. That whole school, I was like, would Michigan really have been that wonderfully multicultural in 1955?
And everyone's okay with it.
Right,
Yeah. Right.
It's like we're all standing in the same line for the water fountain and nobody's saying anything about, the non-white kids in the school.
Yeah.
Really?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good job, Michigan 1955.
Knew
In
whatever
fiction.
your name is. But
I felt that too.
I thought that whole second storyline you had with Lewis and Tarby, whatever
Tarby?
that, he had an interesting name, whatever his name was.
Yeah,
the other
Tarby.
boy at school. There's
Right,
a whole second thing where Lewis is a little weird and he has to go to this new school because his parents died and he doesn't have friends. And then you have this new boy, Targy, whatever his name is, who I had a hard time watching because that's the kid who's going to be in the mid-90s movie that's coming out. And I've seen that trailer 20 times.
That's
so
what I recognize.
I just keep wanting to see you on a skateboard, and that's not what's happening right now. But I thought that was very interesting because you have almost I get that happens in real life, but the way Tarby turns out, I was just like, oh, that's a little, I didn't see that coming.
I would say, of the child actors, I felt like the Tarby character, the bully, is a better actor than I felt the main character kid
Lewis.
was. So I felt like the main kid had some really awkward acting moments that I didn't really believe. But there's this one scene when he's doing an incantation or something that was really weird, and I'm pretty sure that's the scene that he auditioned with or something. I watched it and I was like, that's probably what they hired you for. Because other moments I was like, there are times I'm like, I don't know if I buy this.
Do you
Right.
think? Oh, go.
I'm not sure if that's the kid so much as the material and the direction, because I felt that way at times with Cate Blanchett. And again, I think she's fantastic most of the time, but there were some times I'm like, that's just awkward and not well done, and why are you doing it in that manner?
Yeah, I could believe that. It could be some of the directing.
Yeah. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back to talk about more movies and weird people.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Movie Podcast. We just talked about the house with a clock in its walls. I said what I had to say about that. I'm not a fan of Jack Black. His humor is just not for me. I'm not on that little kid level. So
Did we determine if this is a movie based on a book?
It
is.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It
So
is.
nobody's read it.
No. I'd never even heard of it
Yeah,
until this movie
either.
came
I'll
out.
have to- now I'm thinking I need to go look it up
I'm
and see
like, where did you get the idea for this?
who it's by and if it's a
Right.
series and
I did watch this movie and have that similar I can see this based off a book. I feel like I would enjoy it more as a book than as a movie.
probably it would explain a lot more because of books.
Books,
Because
yeah.
you can get more of that inner monologue and the
exactly.
detail and
So I
everything.
felt like that would have been better as a book. But I guess as for a Halloween film, if you want to go take your kids to a Halloween movie, I think this would be good. And maybe as a parent, the saving grace would be that Cate Blanchett's in it and
Right.
Jack Black if
Right.
you like him.
Yeah, true story. We're going to go ahead and talk about, moving on anyway, and talk about Miss Peregrine's...
Peregrine.
Peregrine? Mm-hmm. Peregrine.
It's a bird.
Peregrine.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I liked this movie.
It's interesting.
It really is. It really is.
Yeah.
So it was directed by Tim Burton. Story by Ransom Riggs.
Who is the author?
Great name though. Ransom
Riggs.
that's not a real name,
He's
right?
the actual author.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. This was...
So
Who wrote the screenplay?
So I'm intrigued by the differences in the movie and the book, and what the heck? You're the author.
Yeah.
You have no excuse to make random changes that all of us went, wait, what?
Right, but I feel like, you know, when you have a situation where after the fact you're like, oh, I should have did this, or I could have did that, or I should have said this.
Yeah.
But the change, and I'm not going to give anything away, but the change that he does makes no sense in light of the next two books.
Yeah, so there was a part where I watched this on DVD, and then after the film ended, I was like, wait. At that, what happened? I went back to look it up, and I went to look it up online, and didn't type in Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children movie, just typed in the title, so ended up on like the Wikia for the book, and so it ended up reading more about the books than I meant to, and so reading about that, I'm like, what is this movie doing? Just from the little bit I saw where the book seems to be going,
But I guess if the movie's not planning on making sequels, then maybe...
Right, and I'm not sure if
Yeah.
they are.
Is
or
any
if they
movie
were-
now not planning
I
on
know.
making
I know.
We can only hope.
So,
Really?
one side note before we talk about the movie, because, you know, I do the book review podcast, is that the way he got the idea for a lot of the characters in this book is that he likes old pictures, and he has a collection of like really creepy old pictures where there's like a Santa Claus, but his eyes are all white,
That
you know,
explains
just
a
like
lot.
overexposed, or you know,
Yeah.
various things. And so he took those pictures and he actually makes characters from the people in the pictures.
That's
Oh, wow.
terrifying.
Yeah, so then and in the book, then you get those pictures.
Yeah.
And so you're seeing his inspiration, which makes a lot of sense
Wow.
because there's some very weird characters. in
There
this.
are.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
There
yes.
are. The one that weirded me out was the chick with her peculiarity is what they call them, is air. And she has to wear like the metal shoes to weigh her down, and she floats away. But she can breathe underwater and just like, or not really just...
She controls air almost.
Yeah, I
But
was
can't
like,
control it to keep from floating away.
I like the
Yeah,
girl
right.
who can grow the food, like
Yeah.
enlarge things. Anyway,
Yeah, so this was very interesting because it's also a time travel movie.
Yes.
The main character, Jake, starts in 2016 and something strange kills his grandfather. And his grandfather left a cryptic last message, as you totally always do when you're trying to protect your grandchild from some magical thing he doesn't know exists.
Yep.
By all means, don't just write that out clearly. Just
Right.
leave it in riddles. So he goes to Wales to find this house that his grandfather was talking about, which is Miss Peregrine's house.
Right.
And then you get it from this, but it's not in his time, and it's in a totally different time. And I'm like, time travel movies. You're confusing me. You can
They
never
just go back and
not
forth.
be confusing. Why?
It gets more confusing if you read the second and third, you know, with more time streams.
Oh,
how
God.
is it? I haven't
Yeah.
even read any.
Because it's not
man.
exactly even time travel. The place where the peculiar children are is a set point in time.
It's a loop.
So
Exactly.
it's a loop. So they relive the same day over and over.
Groundhog's Day.
But
You can travel
you
from
can
one
travel
loop
into
to the other.
Right.
Right.
And if that
But you
loop's in a
can't-
different year.
But if they go into 2016, then they start aging. Yeah.
It's-
So
it
there's a
was-
lot. There's a lot.
And it's very interesting that this is a Tim Burton film because Miss Peregrine is played by Eva Green, who is her
Not Helen
character
Bonham Carter?
is well, no, it was just her character. Miss Peregrine is a bit eccentric in some ways. She's got an interesting hairstyle, and she smokes a pipe just because, and she's got this clock that does a lot of things, and it's like, I feel like if this was Mr. Peregrine, this would have to be Johnny Depp. Like, you have to have Johnny
Yeah.
Depp in this film just because it's Tim Burton. It's like, Eva Green, you and Johnny Depp, what are you doing and why?
I think she smokes a pipe because the weird woman in the picture smoked a pipe.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
possibly. Yeah,
Yeah, it
because that's
was
just
weird.
out of nowhere. It's a peculiar film because,
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah. I definitely could see the author being inspired by weird photos because there are some characters in here that I'm like, why do you even look like that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And then it didn't give me much of an idea about their peculiarity until they like used it and everything. It's like there's like twins that like look weird
Yeah.
and they're creepy, and I didn't know what they did the whole movie until like the end.
Well, it's like they wear that suit.
Right.
The whole
the creepy,
or
the
whatever-
creepy
yeah,
clown
whatever it is.
outfits.
Yeah.
Like so that was interesting.
Yeah.
And then I also, with the time travel, I feel like I just walked away with so many questions. Like, so you can live forever in your time loop, but then, like, if you kill all, like, the bad people, then couldn't you just live, like, normal? Or do you want to do that? Like, so wouldn't... I don't know. I was just like confused about certain things. Like if you're being hunted, but then you're gonna live forever. Like I don't know how I would feel about that. Like if I had a peculiarity, I'm like, well, I might as well just live my life as I can because
especially
who knows
with
what's gonna
dilemmas.
happen.
Do you want to live? You're 80, 90 years old, but you're still 8.
Right, and then live the same day over and over again. Like no, I don't really want to do that.
Well, and also you have the bad guys in this, which are hologas, and I'm just like, okay, thanks for that name. And they call them hollows, and they're hunting the peculiars, and it's like, okay, but if there weren't these hollows, would you need loops? And if there weren't loops, and again, time travel brings up so many questions.
Right.
I'm just like,
and that sounded like they had loops before the hollows.
Yeah,
right.
it did.
Like,
So who were they hiding from? Why?
Right. Why'd you do
I mean,
that?
you're peculiar children, but if you have a, nice house up on the hill and no one comes to see you, do you need to hide away?
Well, and that with the whole why they're in a loop or how the day ends.
Yeah.
Did they create the loop before that happened, or were they all dead?
How did they know to create the loop?
Right.
Because
That's
you
what
do
I'm saying.
get
I think it's explained, but I cannot remember how it's explained in the book.
Well, you do get, at one point, you get an explanation that this loop had to be created in a hurry, that normally embreens, and I had no clue how that word was spelled until I looked it up later, because I was like, what are you saying? What are you saying? And it's spelled weirdly with a Y anyway, so I was like, thanks for that. But embreens are the ones who control time and look after the children, and they create a loop to keep the children safe. And normally they pick like the perfect day, but Miss Peregrine had to make this one in a hurry, and you find out why that's the case. But then you later find out, what happened earlier in that day, and I'm like, okay, but if you couldn't create this loop and then take that extra day to go somewhere else where you're not in danger and create a different I was like, why did you stay
anywhere else?
And this one loop where that loop ends badly.
Right.
I was like, what are you doing?
And they just think it's so amazing too. They're like, watch the end. Why?
And you've seen it like 1,000 times already. So what the heck?
Yeah.
Yep.
I wasn't a fan of the hollows though. I'm just like, why do you have to make them look like the... What did
like
they
Slender Man?
Yeah. I'm like, that's dumb.
Those were creepy.
I feel like this movie came out. Was this before Slender Man?
2016. September 2016.
I don't know.
So I don't know.
I don't know how they explain it in the book. How they explain what the character looks like. But I definitely thought that immediately when I saw it. Like, that definitely looks like Slender Man. Mm-hmm. So I'm surprised if it came out maybe around the same time as that phenomenon that they did that. But I kind of liked the beginning actually when they were they're in Florida, and I thought that was kind of interesting. Like it didn't feel like a Tim Burton movie until they got to the house, and I was like, huh. Did Tim Burton really do this? Like there aren't like creepy like trees or anything or like yeah,
because you can definitely tell his movies right off.
Oh yeah,
and it's like it's no.
And once you get to Eva Green, it's like aha.
Yeah,
okay.
then we're
see starting to get all the weird stuff. Got it.
Here it is.
But I also found the Florida part confusing for the setup of why we're going anywhere and why we need to. Because it was like, who's this character? Who's this boy who clearly doesn't have friends? And then who the heck is Shelley that's driving him? And then what happened with his grandfather? And why are we going to Wales? And what? So it's not even until you get like to sort of the end of the first day where he's met the children that I'm starting even to like, now I'm starting to kind of get what's going on. Because before I had no clue how anyone tied together except the children to each other.
Right. Yeah, I felt that too.
Yeah. I think it was like Jake had a more connection with his grandfather and the stories that were told. And, his dad was just like, oh, those are all fake stories. So Jack was like, oh, I want to hear all these weird stories from my grandpa, you know what I mean? And then he had to go search for him. But I think that's why in Florida is like you had to have that preview of, he was more connected to his grandpa than the dad. So it's like, well, grandpa passed, so I want to go see what he was talking about, whether you believe him or not. And then he kind of just wanted to, I feel like, just make his dad mad anyway. He was just all
just
like,
a bonus.
Exactly. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC movie podcast. We were just recently talking about Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. We're going to continue talking about that. So we're going to touch base on some of the cast members because we all have something to say about them.
Well, Staci's already mentioned her thoughts on Ava Green.
Right.
Well, but I think it's more, and I didn't know this at the time, that both these films have Rupert Everett in them.
Oh.
Because he's the old creepy. He's Izzard in House Clockwall thing. The name I can't say. And he is a birdologist or something in this.
Oh yeah,
but I feel
briefly.
He's in. I feel like, save for Eva Green, a lot of the adult cast is not in this as much as they should be.
Yeah, it's focused on
the children,
right?
Yeah. Even like oh shoot, now I can't remember his name, but like Jake's dad, I believe, is a comedian / actor who I recognize.
Yeah,
Darn
I've
it.
seen him in things, but didn't know who
Yeah,
he was.
but I definitely, there were a lot
his
of people in this movie that I recognized, or like even some of the kids who went on to do other movies later as I got older. I'm like, oh yes, you. I've seen your face before in other things. Like, good for you.
Or like Allison Janney is in this as the therapist. And when I saw the trailers for this, I essentially only knew of Eva Green as like the only adult in this film.
Yeah.
So when I started watching the film and the credits, the opening credits start, and you start seeing all these other, I'm like, wait a minute, what? If you had told me this, I would totally want to seen this years ago. I didn't know all these other people in this film. Why didn't you tell me?
It's a surprise. They just want you to be blown away.
Yeah, true. I mean, Samuel Jackson came in.
Yeah.
And I did not know that he was going to be in this film, but I thoroughly enjoyed him.
The way he did at
He
that.
was so much fun.
He was
Didn't
very
he have
good.
those like white contacts in?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
he's one of the well, I mean, I guess that's a bit of a spoiler.
Sorry.
He is
Well,
in
I
the
already
film.
said it when I said this. The Santa with the picture had the whites of the eye.
Yeah,
yeah.
he has
Right.
white eyes. He's pretty fun. He has some fun lines. I think that we can all agree he had a lot of fun with some of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he was definitely having fun playing
Right.
this role, even if he probably had to pull himself back a little from
Right,
his
watch his
normal
tongue.
let me have fun playing Samuel L. Jackson roles that he could do in more adult films.
Some
Make sure
words
it's
were
not a
taken
rated
out.
R.
Right. This film is rated Samuel L. Jackson for language.
That should be
SLJ.
that should be a rating.
But also, Dame Judi Dench is in this, and I was just like, I was so excited to see her name, and then I was so excited when she showed up, and then she's like not in it very long. I was like, why are you in this film? That was such a although I'm sincerely hoping that there's just a bunch of stuff she did and it got cut, because there's a number of things where it felt like they cut scenes from this, and maybe they cut things from the script, and that's why it doesn't make any sense.
It was a long movie anyway, so I hope
It was.
Or they were planning on making more, and they just haven't. They either were planning on it, and they now aren't, or it's just taking forever. But that makes sense when there's characters that you just get a little bit of in the first one, and then they have larger
Right? I was like,
later,
do you come up a lot in the second book that we're not going to get to?
right?
Just like, why are you here? He's like, that's Dame Judy. You can't just, what did you do with Dame Judy?
I also feel like with this film, there were some moments, because it's a kid's film, but there were parts that were pretty creepy.
Super creepy.
Yeah,
I feel like,
Oh yeah.
I'm not quite sure exactly what the age range they were going for, but there's like one kid whose peculiarity was really scary that I
Enoch.
felt like did not fit with the other kids.
You mean Enoch?
type of abilities? Yes.
Yeah, his
Yeah.
peculiarity. I was like, yeah, it's a Tim Burton film. That's right.
Yes. But there were, because of that, his scenes and some other scenes had some stop motion, which I thought were really cool. And I definitely, it was Tim Burton, so it felt very Tim Burton to have
Yes.
stop motion. But I actually really appreciated it, and I felt like they weren't doing just CGI special effects. They were trying to like stretch out and do some other things that I thought were pretty artistic and cool.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that. I mean, granted, they were creepy scenes, so I didn't enjoy that part of it. But I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm
But see,
glad they mixed that in.
I actually thought that part threw me off, especially the first part where you get Enoch and what he can do. That whole stop motion thing where I was like, oh my gosh, it's Sid from Toy Story. But that's like,
That's true.
since we then later get the scene, especially with Emma and her peculiarity about
Yeah.
air and what they do with the Augusta, and that's really cool, but clearly very much CGI. I was like, you're taking me out here because this all looks wonderfully pretty and well done CGI, and then you've got the strange demon toy stop
That's
motion
true.
thing
Yeah.
going on here, and what is this?
Yeah, I feel like that was just Tim Burton being like,
Yeah.
I have to put something in here.
Right.
But
And then
I
make
thought
it
it was
all
cool.
like blend in too. It's like, oh, all the peculiarities, live together, so it doesn't matter. Just don't even think of why it doesn't blend. It's
all about
supposed to.
diversity.
Exactly.
Just go with it. Let's get to the next scene.
Right.
We were talking about Samuel L. Jackson and his language proclivities. And I can't help but think that Helena Bonham Carter is the perfect spouse for Tim Burton, but because who else would live with the man? Can you imagine what he's like?
Oh, yeah.
I
His
imagine
imagination and conversations in
Yeah.
general.
I think he's just creepy all the time.
He would just be like waiting for you around corners in the dark.
Well,
Oh, you're home.
Oh, yeah.
I heard that they live together, but they actually have two separate houses that they just join
know,
together
I've
by
heard
a
that
hallway.
too.
And I'm like, that might be the only way
Right.
to live with Tim Burton. Is like, okay, I love you, and we have kids together, but you have to be in a different house.
They
Right.
joined their houses together? did
Yeah,
you
so
say?
they bought two houses next door, and so there's a way to connect them, and yeah.
That seems very Tim
But
Burton.
like, can you imagine like your pillow talk and it's like, oh, I have this great idea for this film, and then his ideas are so off the wall, creepy, and it's just like, I'm gonna have nightmares.
There's this dead bride, and
right.
And she's in a lot of those films, so I think she might have,
yeah, she
She's
might
clearly off
share
it.
that. Yeah.
got some quirkiness herself.
Yeah. Wonder how their kids are gonna grow up.
their kid's gonna grow up to be a
love horror
dentist.
films.
Right. I know, something
Completely buck the trend.
orthodontist or something boring.
I want to be a dentist.
Oh, the father's disappointment.
No, you want to be weird. Show it. No.
Yeah, so this film,
Did you guys like it? I liked it. I liked the different peculiarities. It was way too long for me, though. That's the
It
only
was
thing I
long,
didn't
yeah.
like sitting through it. I was like, it's not done yet. They're not.
well, it was so long, and it felt like it took a while to actually get to the home for peculiar children.
It did.
Like,
Yeah.
it was a lot of just wait. I'm like, are we going to meet? I know from the trailer that you definitely at least meet Emma. Are we
Right.
going to ever meet in all the children? Do we only meet Emma? I was like, oh, can we go? Can we go?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end did sort of leave me not even necessarily wanting like a sequel to this, but I want an explanation of everything going on with Jake at that. I was like, that looks like a fascinating story of how that whole ending with Jake happens, and that's not what we're going to get. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked it more than I thought I was going to be honest. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I want a second film. I don't know if I would
That's
see
how I
a second
yeah.
film.
Yeah. I
But,
don't want another one.
Yeah, I don't need another one. I felt like it didn't leave me on a cliffhanger. I was
Yeah.
like okay with it.
But even with all the questions you have after, like, why was this? What about this? And then it's like, I don't really care. Never mind.
Yeah.
Like, I have a number of questions, but to take the time to get those answers.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I'm good with that. So we're going to end this show, not that one, this one, on that note. And we'll be back next time. Join us on the next movie podcast.
Wait.
Oh, yeah.
It's not only Stacy's
It's
last
not.
movie episode, it's her last episode ever on
It
the
is.
GSMC podcast network. And we are sad. Well, I am sad. I can't speak for anyone else.
I'm
We're sad.
And in sync, too.
Very sad.
So Stacy's been with us since March, bringing us 4 different shows.
Yes.
5 if you count the one that... We won't talk about that.
Yeah.
It's not as mysterious as it sounds. I just don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, it's a long story that would... Yeah.
You wouldn't want to see
It's 3 books and all that, yeah. So we won't get into that.
So thank you to Stacy for being here and steering us through all the movies and choosing some really fun combinations, and making me laugh. So I appreciate her.
Well,
we
thank
appreciate her,
you.
too.
I had a wonderful time here at the GSMC Podcast Network. Lots of laughs, lots of crazy silliness, and I'm not sure what we're saying, but we're just going to continue on anyways.
Well, can we invite you back as a guest?
Absolutely. Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks, Staci.
Okay. Well, we will talk to you guys next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Movie Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.